Really. All right, we should be live.
Are we live?
We don't know if we're live.
Or are we dead?
It says we are live. But this is not what I have posted.
We might be having testicle difficulties.
You have viewers waiting. It says go live. This is really getting on my nerves. Connect streaming software. Yes, our streaming software is there. We go. Freaking A. I'm having so much trouble getting into this stuff. I think we're good. I think we're maybe good.
We think we're good. Are we good?
Can you hear me now?
My left or your left?
Can you see my
Now.
P star SSY?
SSY.
Really? Having so much trouble getting. Excuse me.
Good morning, Dragon. Good morning, Joy. Okay, y'all have to go in the back.
Then you gotta stop, buddy. Alright, we're still, like, things are still not, for some reason, nothing is the way that it's, like it normally is, which is just weird.
Maybe it's my lady Joy gave me with the shit-eating grin. Okay, y'all have to go.
Alright, first of all. Hey, Joy. Hey, Dragon. Yep, we're still having testicular difficulties. What is the other thing I'm trying to do? Every time I think of it, he barks and I lose it.
I'm gonna go put him in the back bed.
I leave him out for now. See if he calms down.
Since he likes it so much.
Yeah, he'll usually calm down. What am I looking for, though? I need to look at something. I need to pull it up. I need to check it. I need to do it before I can do anything. It's not on YouTube. Hey, little tree sap. Good morning.
Little tree sap. Good morning.
I don't know, but it was something. Oh, I remember now. We need to go to settings, and we need to disconnect you. Yeah. All right. There we go. Things should be in the normal place now, where they kind of belong. We've made some adjustments and changes to some of the processes and some of the stream pieces. So there's the new one.
Oh, thank you.
These are old.
Okay. Are you saving these or should?
I keep one set.
Okay.
They're on top of the piano. You want to put those there too? Well, you're right. Let me check, make sure I don't mind. There we go. Oh, let me just tell you. Drank a little too much last night. I'm sure half of you know. Oh, yesterday was amazing. We're going to talk about that today. But yeah, I'm a little hungover. It is what it is. And let me tell you. I think more so is overeating. But, oh, the food was so good. We did silent supper last night, guys. I had a really, really nice time. That was very nice. I just want to get a little bit of Herklinger background music since he is, free. But we can't do Herklinger live. Excuse me. We have to actually play some playlisties. So a little obviously not as prepared today either. Because, oh Lord.
So is everybody getting ready for the full moon Tuesday? I've got to put together a little working for it. It's election day. So I'm sure that'll be included. Something for that will be included in my full lunar eclipse, beaver moon, working.
What'd you call me? A beaver? Rude. Oh, and the blend we ended up making last night was freaking amazing. I'm just so excited with everything. Oh yes, Dragon. It was the. I'm blaming you 100%.
That sounds wonderful, little tree sap.
It was the. What do you call it? That tequila. That's what it was. And I would have had. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Although I'm not kidding that it probably was that. Do we have a lighter? Like a lighter?
A regular one? I will get one.
Yeah, just because this is harder to light, I think. Yes, lunar eclipse. So, anything you want to share? Yeah, Joy. Thank you. It's. I'm excited. It's our first mead. We have 3 bottles left. And we're going to, I think, let at least 1 or 2 of them age a little bit longer because it definitely needs some aging. But it came out really nice. The cider wasn't too happy with, but you know it is what it is. And now that the blueberry, I really wanted to get in. I mean, just the regular honey mead, I really wanted to get into it. But part of me just says to, leave it alone, let it sit. And I think that we're going to,
Extended one work? Or you want a short one?
Yeah, that'll fine. That'll work fine. Thanks. That'll fine. Oh, but yes, it was such a good time. Not that I want to make anybody feel guilty, but we have to give a little bit of guilt to everybody, Joe and Beatrice and everybody who didn't come so that they can come next time. But I'm sure Yule is going to be just as fun.
I'm a bad influence.
Oh, it was so good. And you know what's funny is like I got pretty, I wouldn't say drunk. I was I was drunk at some point. But thankfully it was just had so much fun. Just the whole process. There was an air of, we'll get into it. I don't want to go too far in detail now because then we're going backwards. I will get the audio or the video on in just about 2 or 3 minutes, but if you want to do our corners, we can go ahead and do that.
Yes.
So we'll go ahead and call the corners, and then we'll get talking.
Hear me, friends and ancestors from the east. Hear my voice carried on the air of clarity and truth. Watch over us as we cast our circle of safety and love.
See me, friends and ancestors from the south. See my flame of passion and creation seared into the energy of the universe. Watch over us as we cast our circle of limitless possibility.
Feel me, friends and ancestors from the west. Feel my love, fear, sadness, and joy washed into the waters of the rivers of compassion. Watch over us as we cast our circle of connection and motion.
Reach me, friends and ancestors from the north. Reach my feet and hands, the earth in my toes, and the work of my fingers. Watch over us as we cast our circle of the earth.
Know me, friends and ancestors from the either. Know my intent, know my heart, and know my spirit. Watch over us as we ask you all to join us in perfect love and perfect trust.
Hear, see, feel, reach, and know that the circle is safe, the circle is sacred, and the circle is cast.
Be it so.
So mote it be, blessed be, Amen. So, yes, very cool tree sap ritual. Lots of elemental energies. Like I have been spending majority of my time between the Uncle Setnex, as we talked about, and the fire and ice, and bringing elements have always been a big thing of mine. I actually wrote a paper. I call it a paper because I don't know what else to call it, but I wrote it for myself, and it was going to be part of a coursework that we have laid out. And it talks in detail about the dual elements and how, like, one of the things in getting started with the elements as you're working is, I think, as magicians, witches, whatever we consider ourselves, just stewards of the earth really is probably the best thing. It's, to me, that's the truth of the matter. When we light or recognize an element here, we recognize that element on the astral also. Oh, I thought some dog was chewing something. It's the music. So I'd be interested to pick your brain on that a little bit in your rituals and how you bring those in and like how you think of that in terms of the elements. But neat thoughts. But like I said, I'm still reading Uncle Setneck's Essential Guide. Rook and I have caught up to the same place, which is the initiation, I think, the grand initiation.
Yeah, and I think we're debating on whether we're going to continue and read through the whole book or go back through the 19 steps and do some of those before going forward.
By the way, I guess we can go. Let's get the video on.
Let's go live.
Yeah.
I mean, let's bring up the video. We are live.
Yeah. So I want to point out
all the bookmarks.
No.
I have I think 19 tabs already, and I'm halfway through the book. This book, Uncle Setneck's Essential Guide to the Left-Hand Path, is one of the best books I've ever read. It is really like a guide to life, I think. And we'll talk more about that after. But I'm still reading Lords of the Left-Hand Path, and because of the point I'm about to get into Uncle Setneck's book, I'm next going to start Psychic Witch.
Now that's some shit.
And then Backroads Witchcraft. Those are my reading plans for November. What you looking for?
I want to get my copy real quick.
Okay.
Because I want to find something.
See all these? Can you see all? No, you can't see them. But there's a lot of tabs I'll have to show later. A lot of bookmarks and tabs there. Gosh, this book, it's like, and even from the intro, it draws you in. And it's almost as if, I would say pretty much, I won't say every sentence, but every paragraph is something purposeful and intentional and useful.
Agreed. Isn't that pretty?
Yeah.
This is my Norse, who is it? I didn't mean to bring all this.
So you're also reading another book I know you want to talk about a little bit.
Alright, let me see. Yes. So in the practice methods.
And highlights, which you can't see.
That says VII, and so does that. So you have 7 twice.
So it's really 20.
It's really 20.
Really 20 steps to...
Sorry, I just had to point that out.
And it's steps to prepare... Let me see what the actual steps are called right here. So these... methods, actually. There are... It is harder to train oneself than to have a trainer. There are 20 methods listed. The first 2 need to be done first, which is keep a diary and learn to care for and train your body.
I need that one.
The 20 steps, there's a ladder to go through. Many will climb, then throw away. It's important to remember the climb, though, so when you reach the top, you don't destroy the path for others by explaining how easy it is.
That, to me, is such an important point.
Yeah.
It doesn't even... it just is such an important point. But yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is I think I am going to stop.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back through, because some of this I feel like I've done, and I'm going to create the inventory and actually look at what I have done and what I feel like I need to do again or what I need to do more, and then make that inventory. I may not do it, but I'm going to create the inventory, and then I'm going to read through the rest of the book to finish the book so that I know what's in there, and then work on that inventory.
If anyone in life ever asked me if I could recommend one book, no matter what or who they are, it'll be this one. Pretty much.
That was the demon noise.
Finn's the demon dog. All right.
He's a dingo demon. A demon go.
Did you go over your other book?
Yeah,
Or
not
talk about
today.
it you're
We
reading?
talk about it every week. So the other book I'm currently reading, 2 other books actually I'm currently reading. This is The Way of Fire and Ice. We've talked about it on here before. Hold on, let me just see. Yeah. Just gonna put it over there, just on the box.
Sure.
So the Way of Fire and Ice, and this is it's just it goes like it's a completely different read than Uncle Setnacht. Obviously, Uncle Setnacht is to me is setting a stage of how to structure and organize and process things in life to become more sovereign and more ownership of yourself. And then the Way of Fire and Ice is really specific to Norse paganism, as you can see. That's the name of the book. But what's really kind of getting me together on the Way of Fire and Ice is just the comfort that it feels. Like, it just feels comfortable. It feels like something that I would do and maybe have always done and maybe have done in my past lives or something. But it has that feel of thank you, of not gnosis, but that feel of familiarity that you kind of get sometimes when you're reading, like, have I read this before? And I know I haven't. There's lots of the gods and learning things about the Norse gods that have changed my perspective on things. I know we talked a little bit about this on the after show. You know, how Loki is much more than just a trickster, but that's what everybody said. Oh, he's a trickster god. He's a trickster god. But what does that actually mean? Sorry, there's somebody at the front door. We're going to check on that real quick. It's not Amazon, was it?
Yes.
Oh. Finn? Sorry, he was running. Apparently Amazon decided to bring a gift early today. Maybe they didn't set their clocks right. Ooh, toys, things. Are they both mine?
Yes.
Let's unbox them on air.
Okay, we can.
I don't get stuff like you do, so there's no worry.
What do you mean?
Ha
Guilty. I get adult things sometimes.
It is not because they're both in my name. I think that thing is going to come in Brad's name. The Mr. Man. Yeah. And, you know, it's the definition of trickster. Like, we all have this modern definition of trickster, but really, it's, to me, if we use the correct modern term for what Loki and Onar, they're change agents, right? But anywho, just learning all of that and then learning about, let's see if I can get it right. Oh, God, what's the word? With the fates, there's the grand fate, the grand accumulation of all things, the Orlog, I think it is. But I forgot the other term. Oh, it's going to bug me. I'm going to reread that piece. It'll come to me. But, you know, it talks about how fate isn't pre-written, but fate can be changed based on the actions of others. But there's it just makes so much more sense. Like, it really does. So I'm really, really loving that. Third book that I'm reading is Backwoods Witchcraft, which Rook got for me.
I shall put it up. Because I'm going to read it too.
It's a
This one.
Appalachian folk magic, which is, you know, very close to my family, but it's not something that I've personally engaged in. But I will tell you, reading it also gives that feeling of closeness to it. Like, wait, I'm pretty sure my family did this, and I'm pretty sure this is how our families did practice. And you know, I am pretty sure that his grandfather really could stop bleeding with a certain practice that is lost to the ages. And the interesting point in there is how, even with all of those remedies, they still believed in what we call now Western medicine, but then would have been some type of scientific medicine.
Hey, Melvin. Good morning.
I will
Welcome.
say, hey, Melvin, I will say that I do have to, hey, honey, I do have to figure out how and why I react still to the Christian process, because that's something I need to work on. But it's very Christian. It calls to God. But even in the book, it says, look, we don't give a shit who you call to. You can call to whatever. But it was based on a Christian religion or Christian processes, so you can't like just discount that because you don't like it.
And that makes,
Oh, that's
excuse
yours.
me think, like back in that time, it probably did have Christian influences, whether that was original or not, because of what was going on, right? And that leads me to a point that I love in this Uncle Setnacht book. It says, mature practitioners of the left-hand path do not put down or criticize in a negative way right-hand path or other paths. The mature left-hand path initiate. You can disagree with, you can debate, you can talk about, but
Yeah, and you can say, no, not for me, it doesn't work for me, but to be considered, I don't want to say to be considered mature because that's very judgy, but you would think as you mature, you learn the non-necessity of that thing.
Right.
So, but we're going to get into much more detail, I think, on that later, and I'm not going to say that I've still got another book that just came in the mail.
Oh my gosh.
It's Process Theology. VG. You're downright being aggressive, honey. She's love. She did good.
I bet you.
She did so good last night outside with everybody. But this is Process Theology by David Ray Griffin on postmodernism, morality, pluralism, eschatology, which I've never heard of, and demonic evil. And this was recommended in one of the 3 books I'm reading. I don't know which one. So, spiritual maturity. I like that. Let me switch it over real quick so you guys can see. This is the book that just came in the mail. We're unboxing. Yay. Don't worry, I haven't forgot you in your books. Or did you already talk?
Well, I talked about...
You didn't talk about Lords of the Left-Hand Path, which I'm going to read when you're done with it.
Yeah, because I haven't been reading that one much because I've been reading Uncle Setnax.
Yeah. So, yeah. Good. We'll see how this book goes. Thank you. Oh, and the other thing I got, because I'm going to get really interested in making my own teas and stuff.
Oh, wonderful.
So I'll be able to make a little baggie of tea, homemade teas, and then use these to steep them when I'm traveling. So again,
steel balls.
Again, I'm trying to work to make my travel more, I'm going to stop complaining about it. When I travel, I'm going to make it more like home and more like what I want to do. So, yeah. Next. You want to talk about anything else?
Well, I'll just keep going back to one thing real quick on the Uncle Setnax book. One of the steps or processes was to get a map of your local, to connect to the land, get a map of your local area surrounding you, street by street, and take time to explore it and connect to it. So.
Yeah, and I've had one before, but these are a little bit, I think, nicer for traveling. Oh. Nothing to see here.
Okay, nothing to see.
Okay, so it's a couple of decks. The Medicine Woman Oracle. You don't have to show them. Somebody's going to recognize this one in the chat. Might as well put it over there. So that was the Medicine Woman Oracle.
Ooh. Medicine Woman. Who will recognize this one? I don't know who he's referring to.
Yes. Oh, he's not in the chat. But some people may recognize that. That was a high recommendation by Odin's Eye Tarot.
Oh, cool.
So I was like, you know what? I've seen it 100 times and just never actually got it. So I'm like, let me just go ahead and get it. And then the other 2 are truly just for collecting because they go with the series. We have Seasons of the Witch Yule Oracle and Seasons of the Witch Beltane Oracle. The rest of them are there. We already have the Samhain Oracle, and the rest of them will be coming out over time. I think Mabon is getting ready to come out.
That's pretty cool.
So it's a really neat system. So it's yeah, no problem. Because we're moving towards Yule now. Most certainly.
Okay.
All right. When you're done with Lords of the Left-Hand Path, you got to remember, I'm working on it next.
Yes, gladly.
Do you feel like you're going to read the 3rd chapter of Setnact?
I feel like I'm going to switch over to Psychic Witch next.
And then go back to it?
And go back to it.
Fair enough.
And that also goes with my strategy to read a reading challenge.
Hey, welcome in, Paranormal.
Ooh. Hey, Paranormal. Good morning.
So the other thing I know we keep saying, Eclipsing the Shadow is coming back. It really is.
So this is what I'm going to switch to this week.
that's what you're going to go to next. Yes, that's a good book. I could actually probably reread it. Matt Oren is a very good, to me, what's the thing? It's Matt Oren, Devin Hunter. Those are the two that I remember the most from early podcasts. The Modern Witch podcast, which was, I don't even know if they still do that, but very good writing style of just, it engages you through the process. So instead of, it's like Set and Act a little bit, but it's more conversational. So it's a really good book. I have the second one I'm really excited to read. We talked about that too.
I love to smell books. Yes, I'm smelling them.
Oh, Paranormal, I'm sorry you're sick. Well, I will be honest with you. I can't claim sick, but I certainly don't feel good today. I actually have quite a few visits with the Porcelain Kingdom from being sick to my stomach because liquor and lack of control, self-control. So, got to get better at that one. But, so I wanted to mention the Eclipsing the Shadow. We have not forgotten it. We are still doing it. It is, again, something that we just do really slow. We had prepared, one of the things we like to do, or we're doing, is that we were using Eclipsing the Shadow as the thing that we do when we're apart. But each week we've tried to do it. We've had some kind of technical glitch, which I believe all of that is handled now. So this week when I'm in Delaware and Jersey, we should be able to do that.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll have that video out soon. Podcraft, we still are working on logistics. We wanted to get through Samhain and Silent Supper first. We've started working on getting our workshop set up in the garage, which is where we will be doing Podcraft from. My guess is it probably will be monthly or every other month. It's not going to be a super often one because main reason being I love making videos. I love doing the craft stuff and learning. However, also doing the video and learning and doing it at the same time sometimes takes away from the craft for me just a little bit. So I don't want to necessarily commit to every single crafting thing we do being, a video because sometimes you just want to have to be there and experience the whole thing. And sometimes the video can pull from that. So, but we are working on getting all that set up and that'll be something we're doing soon. We can move into our news. We have 3 news articles. I've got one. Yeah. And mine tends to be like they normally are, like earth or nature related, heat related, global warming, that kind of stuff. And this one is city heat islands and the muting of fall colors. And I have a mad chihuahua that's going to make me pick her up.
A chihuahua?
A chihuahua. Come here, chihuahua. Come here. And she steps just out of reach when I go to pick her up.
Aw.
I got what I want. Look, haha.
Thank you, Joy. Mystic here actually gifted this to me, and I haven't had a chance to play, so we must break them out next time and draw some cards from it.
We can use it today if you want. So, ultimately, and this is not new, so this is something that's been kind of going on for a really long time as it relates to what we are now learning are heat islands, which is, your really high urban and sometimes suburban areas. With everything first, and these are things that I'm still learning, right? So you take an area and you pave it, and we all know that kind of changes things, right? You have the buildings and the tall city walls, but what I forget is that it doesn't allow for the rain water to suck back into what would have been there before, the earth, the bushes, the trees, which would then respire that air and put it back out into the universe when they expel carbon dioxide or oxygen through photosynthesis. So first thing that causes a city heat island is the paving. It also tends to absorb a lot more heat than a tree would, because the tree is converting a lot of that sun energy into sugar. So we have that problem, right? And so now we're starting to heat up in these little areas. Then you add buildings, which can make the air movement change and different. And it becomes this issue over time where these islands are just really, really, an island meaning area of the earth, of land in big cities that are significantly warmer than surrounding areas. I should have said that first. So the asphalt, the trees and plants can't transpire that. There's runoff, there's heat absorption, there's AC. And this one I find kind of interesting when they talk about the air conditioning, how it like heats things up. I'm like, well, of course it does. It's taking the cold from the inside and putting it outside. But as it does that and things heat back up, that's a tit for tat piece for me. But the energy it takes to run the air conditioner is not, and so that's where that comes from. And of course you have car exhaust and all these other things where fossil fuels are where they are, and they don't create that warming until they're combusted. So we're converting energy that was stored in the earth to heat energy outside in the earth. So when we think about dinosaurs and volcanoes, and the dinosaurs died, and that heat was then transferred into the animal, which was then transferred into what eventually became our oil and gas. And I find it very interesting that we don't think about that too often. With that, we see global warming, even temperatures of a half a degree difference. And I can attest to this. The trees aren't changing as fast in the north. It's hotter and wetter. So trees are growing bigger, which is a good thing because they have more water to grow from. But they also aren't turning into their fall colors. Now, might not seem like a big deal, but when you think about it, that is part of the cycle that we screw up as humans, and we need to work on putting those cycles back the way they should be. And you know what? If there is natural warming, which there is, the Earth cycles just like anything else, we humans just shouldn't be accelerating it, or we should allow the Earth to do it the way it's supposed to. I think we're all culprits in that, and we can do our best to try to minimize it as much as possible, but it would take the entire world to work together. So yeah, it was interesting. The reason I even thought about bringing this up about the city heat islands, because it's been a thing before. It makes me kind of a little self-deprecating of my lack of paying attention to Earth and stewardship, I guess, of the Earth, and makes you want to do a little bit better. And I hope it makes everybody want to do just a little bit more that you can do, because we're all part of it, and there's really not a whole lot you can not do to be a part, or that you can do to not be a part of it. You have to. But we can save water a little bit better. We can move things around, to be aware, right, and pay a little more attention. So that's my thoughts on that. I wanted to just have that discussion. We can recycle more. We can use less when we need to, or when we can, which we're also trying to do, but, Look at my little luck dragon. She likes to be here. This is what she did last time. Oh, and our internet, obviously, as you can see, is fixed. Yay.
It's working.
Perfectly.
Okay. So I found a couple of cool articles. The first one is about scars, emotional scars, physical scars, and I got this off of The Wild Hunt, and this is an article by Cleo Ajana. November, it talks about November being in between Samhain and Yule. It's about 6 weeks to kind of rest and reflect. Think about your plans. We've got a total lunar eclipse coming up, a blood moon, beaver moon on Tuesday, and it kind of represents abrupt change internally and externally. So we've been through a lot, and a lot of reasons to have developed scars over the past 3 years. Mm-hmm. We've had a crazy worldwide pandemic. We've had 3 midterm elections. Our work atmosphere overall for many people has changed, maybe permanently with work from home or hybrid positions. Our attitudes have changed about what is non-negotiable and what we can kind of let go of and accept, let slide. Scars, from a medical terminology, is the body's way of healing and replacing lost, damaged skin. From an emotional standpoint, it could be trying to heal the loss of a loved one, a situation that was certain but now insecure, such as loss of a job or loss of a relationship. Crises force us to make changes. define what we're willing to fight for and what we're willing to take losses for.
That is definitely a strong theme in spiritual working. A lot of people seek out spiritualism to figure out how to manage their scars and their, manage through these crises, so from a mental health perspective or from a spiritual perspective. That's a big part of what we do. And I really like you putting the definitions in, because one of the things you learn in nursing or in healthcare is that there are some things that the body can regenerate by itself, but most of it can't. So when you have a scar, what generally has happened is you've had a cut, and when that cut repairs itself, or that injury, it's never the same exact substrate as it was originally. Connective tissues and other things do not regrow, so it fills it in with a different type of stuff, a different type of skin cells, different type of epithelial cells. And
it's
so that's
stronger, right? It's scar tissue stronger.
It's thicker.
Thicker.
Not always stronger. It can, but it just represents that what is here now is not what was here before, but it's good enough. And that's kind of how I think about some, scars when we try to look at them. I've never been worried about having scars, and just if I have a scar on an area, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what happened when blah blah blah, because my body, in the universe, my body was injured, and within my body, it repaired itself the best as it could. And while it is not the same, it is repaired. And I just think that that's a really neat way to look at it, because when it's replaced with something else, but it's still something good. And that's an important thing. Emotionally, same thing. It's never quite the same. Once you have a crisis or you work through traumas, the repair is not the same as what was there before, but that doesn't make it less. It doesn't mean it's not appropriate or not good. It's resilience.
Thank you. And those physical scars from an accident, what have you, a surgery you have to go through for your health or your body, those we don't have a choice about. But there are scars that we can choose to take and work through that we do have a choice on. And I think that it talks about bravery in these cases, absolutely. Gender affirmation surgery, leaving a toxic job, leaving a bad relationship, shadow work to change the self. We should be proud of these scars. The presence of scars means the injured person is never the same physically, emotionally, or psychologically. Our most dominant scars now are internal. They take courage to address, but when we do, we can live in the moment as the best version of ourselves, changed but strengthened.
Mm-hmm. You have your emotional, your psychological body has a cut or a sore or an ulcer or an otherwise injury, and we can leave it there to fester, or at some point we want to go in and start saying, okay, well, let's clean out all this dead tissue. That's the initial shadow work, or the initial therapy, or the initial let's get it out in the open, and that hurts. It hurts really bad when you do that, physically, outside, and internally. And then you start filling it in, though, with these different things and different coping mechanisms, or like your body, different layers of tissue. You have granulation tissue, your connective tissue, your epithelial tissue starts to layer in. I think it's the same emotionally and mentally. It's a really good article. I didn't read the article, but I'm going to have to go back and read it now, because
I really recommend that one. The
good.
Next article I saw is one I have not a lot of knowledge of. I'm just going to say that up front. But it really spoke to me, and it comes from mainly a hedonistic or Norse pagan point of view, which you would like.
Oh, I'm telling you, I'm already looking at it.
So the words and names that I mispronounce, I could not include all of the examples. It's just an article you really need to read, and it's called Look Up to the Skies by Carl E.H. Siegfried. And the premise, or the main idea, is that the skies today are not the same as the skies over the ancient northern world. Long ago, Anglo-Saxons could report fierce foreboding omens that warned of Viking raids, excessive whirlwinds, I misspelled that, lightning, and fiery dragons in the sky.
I can't see your writing.
I know. Nowadays, with all our looming dooms, we don't see dragons in the sky. Heck, most often we can't even see the stars.
Can we get a shirt or a mug that says Looming Dooms
Looming Dooms.
and have like a dragon on it? I like that.
We can't see the stars, but this
They're
author, suggests we should always remember that there's guidance in the sky and in the stars. That hasn't gone away. So the sky viewability, I don't know if I made that word up, the sky viewability is blocked out by the city's electric lights. We can also confuse stars and planets with passenger crafts, airplanes. How can we bring back the old sense of wonder when gazing upwards? Except that we aren't alone in not being able to see the stars. Long ago, for our ancestors, they experienced very cloudy nights, and they remind us that we can sense the stars even when they are invisible to us.
I like that.
A 9th and 10th century Old English runic poem, and I don't know the name, but it provides 29, don't get me hedonist people, Futhorc runes, had this to say about the Tyr rune. T is a guiding star. Well does it keep faith with princes. It is ever on its course over the mists of night and never fails. This guidance is felt with the heart more than seen with the eyes. Look up on a clear night and observe the Big Dipper. See Thor forever riding his wagon and spinning his hammer. Let the evening star remind us of friendship that crosses social boundaries. Follow the pointing Tyr rune that reminds us that even on the cloudiest nights there's a guiding star above, like Tyr himself, that shows us the right way to go. So what this kind of said to me, if you can, look out on a clear night. If you have means or access to a telescope, use it and look up and just remember that even though we can't see things or see guidance, the stars are still there to guide the way.
Yep, I think even more so that has a metaphorical connotation, right?
I thought that was really cool.
There's a lot of things in life that we can't see. That doesn't mean that they're not there. And there's a lot of things that haven't been explained yet that may never be explained. That doesn't mean that they don't exist. I like to think of it in the most simple way of, if I think about my neighbor's house that I've never been in, I'm sure it looks different. There's stuff that exists there, whether I know it or not. I mean, that's just the simplest example. So paying attention to knowing that there's a lot of things in life or in the world that are present, whether we know them or not, doesn't make them independently more or less worthy of knowing that they're there. Like, I've never seen an atom. Pretty sure it exists. I think that's accurate based on what we know. There's just a lot of things with that we really could address. I just want to point out too, this blend that we made yesterday with Silent Supper, it freaking smells better the second day.
It has a good sweetness to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
So let's talk about Silent Supper. It was just last night. It hasn't even been, 12 hours?
Right.
It has been 14 hours. But something happened last night in the Silent Supper that I wanted to mention and share with other people, and that is the type of magical working that happens, and it doesn't happen just because of a group, but I think it's easier in groups when you're comfortable with people, but the type of magic that happens when you just start doing something. Like yesterday, the Silent Supper was very organic. I know we've talked about Silent Supper before, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but ultimately, the supper itself is about 30 minutes where we eat in silence, and we commune and talk to and see if our dead ancestors come through, and they most certainly did, let me tell you.
Hey, Zig!
Hey, Ziggy!
A queen is never late. She arrives exactly when she should.
Truth. Hashtag queen. But yeah, so and lots of things happened last night, but before and after, the organicness of the whole thing it took a life of its own. It was very, very moving. It was very constant. It was very just do what felt like things just worked out, and it was definitely probably scared the neighbors.
I was thinking
Our neighbor that helped us out probably will not help us out anymore. I'm kidding. He probably will.
He probably will.
They're
But it was
probably like,
funny.
oh, fuck, huh?
Now with our fence gone and pool cage, you can really see, like, we probably had 20 candles lit
And we were in our capes and
walking around.
and
We looked like monks.
Oh, I loved it. And that's something to say, to point out. We can do that topic later. Ritual clothing. I'll bring that up in a minute. But so to me, this was this is our second year doing it. I think we'll continue doing it every year, whether it's at this house or whatever. It has something we just have to do every year. Very similar to what many people would think of as Thanksgiving. It's that same kind of idea. But what was different? For sure, to hell with the neighbors. Absolutely, 100% agree with that. But yeah, so it's like this one, last time it was good, but this one was just, things just kind of started and did their own thing. It just really it was a whole organic living process. Like
last year, I feel like we, did things in order a certain way as a group, calling the corners, inviting the ancestors in. And this, when it started, like, it's like everybody just knew when it started and went off and did literally their own thing. It was really, really cool.
And then it would literally swirl in together for a minute, and then it would separate, and then it would swirl in together a little bit, and then separate.
Scaring the neighbors is awesome.
Yes.
It is.
I agree. 10 out of 10 recommend. That's hilarious. But the other thing is, when we made our blend, instead of, because I like to make them, it's so much fun, we actually just had everybody pick what they wanted to go in. And let me tell you, it was absolutely amazing. The blend we ended up coming up with. I did get everything written down, so I know what's in it.
The music, yeah.
Yes, and the music. Music is always great.
So I haven't had this happen without going on about it, being a dead horse, but I've had in magical work or meditation where I would get cold, or I would have tingles, or different places. But when this started out of nowhere, it felt like I was just burning up, like I had not a fever, but it's like my whole body, and it wasn't uncomfortable.
It's the energy that you don't necessarily know how to address.
But I need to learn to control my fire still, but
sure.
It was I just felt overheated, but not uncomfortably so, but I could tell my whole body was just putting off heat. It was really weird, but it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really cool to see how everybody was in tune in their own thing.
It was
still connected, which kind of brings us to something we wanted to talk about in a little bit, which is how do you gain trust, like when you want to work with a group or people, right?
Yeah, and working with a group of people doesn't necessarily mean that you have to change your practice, be in the coven, or any of those things. We wanted to talk about that. But just like anything else, like Joy mentioned, the music, the organicness of it, the comfort level in the group, the just
trust,
do what you have to do, on top of the ritual attire, all of those things, and the candles, and just the general feeling on the altar, those things are all things that I felt personally allowed me to slip into that mode much faster. And that mode, once you get into it, you don't always know it, but afterwards you can usually go back and tell, okay, that's what people are talking about when they say meditate or get into a ritual space. You do change. It's almost like getting into that final gear and things just kind of take off to their full speed. Now, I'm not saying that you have to have special ritual gear, that you should go out and buy a cape if you don't have any money. It's not a requirement. None of those things are a requirement.
But to me, I think it does help your focus.
It mentally helps prepare you, but you can also use other things. So finding the thing that's most important to you is important. Like, that's what you should be doing, not just trying to do what everybody else tells you to.
Right.
So, let's go ahead and do the sharing space topic, and we'll go back up to the...
So all of our different paths are, I think, largely solitary. But it is good to work in groups at times. I mean, there's something to be said about the energy you can raise with a group that helps, I think.
Well, it's solitary with a high community component.
Yeah.
So it's solitary because ultimately our own practices are going to be different when we're home and by ourselves and doing our thing. But when we come together in community and have group rituals and things, it changes. It changes, and it makes it different. And that's what I kind of mean. Like, I think even if I was in something that we called an actual coven, I would still consider myself a solitary practitioner that does some coven work, because there is power in numbers for sure. But I'm learning more and more lately, especially with Left Hand Path, that the power has to come from you first. Mm-hmm. You have to be your own beacon. You have to be your own quartz amplifier before you can work and amplify with somebody else. That doesn't mean you can't do work with others. I'm just saying, for me, like, I want and will always ultimately rely on my own system and process because it's what feels right to me. But going out with the group and going out with people and seeing that other way they do it obviously makes me change my process sometimes. And I just thought it was really, really good. Yeah, that's a very good point. And I think the community, what I would like to say about what I know right now related to community is, when we say community, we are talking about all of the definitions of community. It's community at large, community to the neighborhood, community to the house, community are connections.
Professional community.
Yeah, so there's so many multiple different aspects of what community means. And if you are somebody that does not have that community connection, you can be solitary all you want, but I'm telling you, you're going to want to find that connection somewhere, because whether you ever do working with them, you can. But you got to be careful, especially nowadays, because people are crazy.
So that brings me to, like, what are some good ideas or tips? Because we kind of just worked together and were mainly solitary until we met people from the church and the cups, right?
Yeah, we literally went out with that purpose in mind.
And so after time, over years, now going over 3 years, we've kind of built that relationship with our group or our people. But today, what if somebody's in a rural area and they come across Facebook or whatever, those box really isn't, I think, relevant anymore, but which box? But if they're online and you meet somebody, or an online school, and you want to get together, like, I think there's some safety. You need to protect yourself until you really get to know them,
mm-hmm.
right?
I chuckle because she's huffing at me when I move too much.
I wouldn't.
She gets mad.
I would interact with people for quite a while. If it's just online and they're not somebody you've met in person, I would not meet them alone.
Yeah, and so the thing is, when it comes to practice, I think it's even just enough to be 100% solitary, but you still have a community in there somewhere. There's somewhere that you can integrate spiritually with, to learn from. And so the UU was a good place for us because they had the Cups chapter. And plus we're both really out about it. Like, we're not in broom closets, so we don't have any concerns. I mean, I did for work, but at this point I just don't care anymore. Because I'm like, whatever. And I just go about my business, and if they want to address it, they can. But yeah, I think, like you said, having good people in place is important.
I chuckle because last week, and I guess it's not really funny, but one of my managers at work was talking to me and another employee, and she goes, well, I just don't want to make y'all mad because I know y'all. And we just looked at her and we said, look, we're not about just going out and trying to hex people. But I thought that was funny, and I had to chuckle. Keep thinking that. Keep them a little scared. No, I'm just playing. Keep them a little scared, on edge.
You mentioned tips. Obviously the cups. Finding a local cups chapter is a good tip. UU churches are often, whether they have a cups chapter or not, generally, they are very accepting of all faiths. So those are things you can look at.
Start your own freaking group if you want to.
Mm-hmm. There's Meetup, but those things I would only recommend if you go in groups, because that can be scary. The other thing that I think would be that worked for Brad is have something witchy on you that's a little bit innocuous but noticeable to people who are also witchy. So like sometimes I wear my a necklace that has like just I don't want to wear the pentagram or pinnacle sometimes out on my shirt at work, right? I can't do that, but I can do the sun and moon. So somebody will go, oh, that's a really cute necklace. Is that the sun and moon? And then sometimes they'll be like, are you? You know, they'll have that little hint, and then you can kind of get a conversation going.
Oh yeah, Ziggy, that seems like that would be more of a group type conversation for sure. So what Mystic was talking about, the way actually that the opportunity, and I call it an opportunity because it's been a great group and relationships we've formed for us to be connected to Cups in the U Church was at work. I had a little singing bowl. I had my own office. I had a singing bowl. I had a selenite, not spear, what do they call it? Wand, selenite wand. And it was something else. I think a dry piece of sage or a little bowl of salt up. And one of the two of the family members of one of my patients stopped by and they were just talking to me, you know, introducing themselves. And they said, oh, it's like, we like your altar. And then we just started talking. So if you're able to and it's safe, sometimes just wearing a piece of jewelry like you suggested, a ring, or having something in your space, if you can do that, is a good way to open up the conversation to people in your everyday life versus just online, you know.
Very much. And Ziggy, I agree with you. Number one, if I was in a coven and they brought 5 people in,
that's a lot.
I'd be out
immediately
because there's no such that something about that's not a coven, because the coven doesn't have respect for you or anybody else in that individual scenario.
And I saw an ID show about a witch that did that in her coven, and it ended up in murder.
So for me, right, and Joy has the really good point there. So to me, it's less coven and more solitary with group work. We do some things together. We do some things separate. We have and this has been for me since before we even came down here to Florida, of having the outer and the inner circle. We didn't call them specifically that, but you have friends who know what you do, but they don't participate. You have a group that's like kind of dabbling in it, and they're kind of in the mystical, new agey space that you learn. But then you have an inner group of people who you really trust, and you still don't do all your workings with them. So, for me, I have no desire to actually be in a coven anymore like I used to. Go find one. Because the group satisfies that need for me.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I've always wanted one, and I realized, you know, over the past couple of years that what I wanted from a coven I have with the group, but I still think a coven is it's a really cool idea. And I think there's experiences that you can get only from that.
I'm not knocking covens, and I would join a specific coven if the problem for me is twofold. Number one, it's very easy to romanticize what a coven is and does. That's the draw.
Yeah.
That's not actually usually how it works.
I agree.
And second, to me, you lose control in a coven. It is more about the group when you're in a coven, and I don't like that. I want to be in control of every part of my practice. So when we get into group situations, I still find some clashing in myself of wanting to do things a certain way. But in the group, you either acquiesce or you convalesce, right?
Something else to do?
You can give me another one if you want. But depending on what it is you choose to do, you know, doesn't mean it's good or bad. You just do it. But to me, in the coven work that I've done, everything was always about the coven. All workings were with the coven. Every moon you had to do this. You had to do all the Sabbaths were with the coven. Well, sometimes we're going to go and do something with a certain person that does it differently, you know. And I think that freedom of being a fully solitary practitioner but has a very close and trusting group to allow group work, that has been incredibly fulfilling for me. So yeah, an inner and outer guard, absolutely. You know, and what I find about the coven, so I feel like inner and outer guard would come from the perspective of the individual. So it's my inner and outer guard, and then it would be Rook's inner and outer guard. Our inner guard may have 1 or 2 people different in it. Like it doesn't mash up across multiple. Now, me and him, that's a bad example because we probably would, because we're in the same circles. But like his outer group is going to be different than mine, even no matter how close we are. So if you have your inner guard, how do you have an inner guard as a group? Everybody would have to have the same inner guard, and that does not speak to me. Everybody doesn't have to have the same 13 people in their coven, right? So as an example, I mean, this isn't accurate, but I'm just using it as an example. So I have, from my perspective and the people that I'm comfortable with, there's 13 people in that inner circle. Well, that person in the top right corner might have 3 or 4 people that they trust more than anything in their life. They may be not necessarily coming into the coven, right? Maybe that's not an availability, or there's not somebody else in the coven doesn't get along with them or whatever. Then that has to exist, and for that person, it takes away their free choice and sovereignty to prevent them from having their group. So inner guards are overlapping to me, and outer guards for that matter. But in a coven, I don't feel like you get that option as much. It does, Ziggy, and it's absolutely correct, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. I want to be a cook at all of it. So when we do group stuff, we have to separate. Sometimes you're the cook, and sometimes you're not. But in personal solitary practice, you're always the cook. So I think that's very, very specific, and I think that's a really good point. And there's nothing wrong to me with having too many cooks in the kitchen, but that's the reason for me that the coven part doesn't necessarily work out. But kind of like, and I want to say our setup, but between our inner circles that we have, that's why I think it works so well. Because like if we do an inner circle working, and like we did, like the Silent Supper, it was relative, I would say, inner circle. But there are people that were invited that maybe aren't part of necessarily, or maybe are new to the inner circle, or we're still getting to know them. We still do the workings with them. In a coven, that might not be allowed. That might be something where it's like, it's these people and that's it. And I don't like that. That is a big turnoff of coven work for me. But I want us to separate coven, like, for all intents and purposes, we're in a coven.
Right.
But it's open, it's accepting, it's got people that do different things. Now, maybe when I get deeper into Fire and Ice and I really want to learn more about that specific brand of Norse paganism, I might join groups that are specific to that, and that would be separate from what we do here. It'd have to be. And that doesn't mean anybody's included or excluded. It's just a separate part that would be addressed or be worked through, and that'll change things. So if you don't have that openness, then you will sign yourself up for a lot of heartache and frustrations and anger and just failed group work. Exactly. I'm 1,000%, little tree set. That's it. I agree 1,000%. And maybe I'm taking the words too literal, but the coven is the one that to me would feel like it would be the exact same, and I don't like. But the guard, the way I do it, it's not, and I like that. I think that is so neat.
All right.
Yes. All right. So, any comments before I go on?
No, just back if you're meeting somebody new, if it's offline or online. If you're meeting somebody online, offline, I would spend a lot of time interacting with that person and go with your intuition. And if you do meet up with them or a group, I would say don't go alone. And you can always start your own group. You can always start your own group, whatever you want to call it, in your area, which can be difficult if you're in a smaller area sometimes, but just be safe, I think, was my main thought on that.
Yeah, one of the things that is important is also, to me, first impressions, I think, is a fallacy. You need to meet somebody more than once before you decide to meet them privately. Like coffee shop, game, bookstore, things where people traffic.
Publicly lit.
Publicly, yes. So, and engage individuals until you get to know them, or meet them through, because even just because they're part of a group doesn't mean they're safer. So, same thing with UU, same thing with meetup apps, all that stuff. You got to be careful, and do things smartly. And yes, joy, correct. The coven is absolutely not the correct word for us. That's one of the things I like about it. If it were, then it probably wouldn't work for me, and I'd have to zip on dippity-doo-dah out. Cosmic. Edsbats, moon phases. We are going to talk about them real quick before we do tarot.
Whoop, whoop.
Currently, the sun is in Scorpio, which is the 8th sign of the zodiac. We're not in Sagittarius yet.
And I've got to look up what mine really is, because you shared and educated me that mine is not really necessarily Sagittarius. It's Zoonomenon.
It is not Zoonomenon.
So what's it called?
Let me get through this first.
Okay.
Fixed water, Mars planet, opal and granite, cold, wet, feminine. I don't like those descriptors, but that's generally what people do. I get the cold and wet. Like, it talks about the environment and the atmosphere of how it feels. Cold and wet would be, very rigid, very specific, very starting. But the feminine and masculine, I get y'all and a lot of you disagree with me as far as polarities and stuff. I just don't think that that's a thing, and I think we should get away from it at some point soon. But yeah, so as far as your sun zodiac,
yes,
the things in the sky are not the same way they are now because the calendar is manufactured. We've lost days and times, and if you actually count the calendar out in the way that the calendar has been set up, at least for the time frame in AD, we are approximately 222 days off. Is the full cycle off. So things in the sky are not exactly where they were back then. They're in different places. But that doesn't make them less important or working in the system. So if you look at the true updates and where the different, like we use the tropical system, I can do that, Dragon Dancer. I can do a full chart for you. I have trouble interpreting it because it's a lot of information, but I can still do it. Ooh, I got an itch in my... Sorry, Ma.
Baby.
My arm hurts. But in the tropical system that we use, they're not in the same place where they used to be. Because time has changed things and cycles have adjusted. So there are corrections for it, and people will swear that you have to use the new version versus the old version. But to me at this point, it's about the consistency and the symbolism of it that matter. So that's what I would focus on. And then there is also the third Ophiuchus that's considered the 13th zodiac, and it's just like...
Ophiuchus?
We're good. Yes.
Is that what I am?
No, you're Sagittarius.
But you told me, instructed me before to...
You're Sagittarius, and shut it.
Look into Ophiuchus.
Well, look it up. Let me know what you learn. Right now, we're at 96% illuminated waxing gibbous.
Ooh, it's building.
Which means it's protuberant. Tuesday, election day, is our new moon.
Woo-hoo!
It is full moon, I'm sorry. It is a beaver moon and... What else?
Lunar eclipse. A total lunar eclipse that we last had in May, I think.
Total eclipse of the heart.
And it was really cool because the last one a few months ago, we literally sat out there at 11 p.m. in front, and you could see the moon become covered. Like by 12:01 or 12:10 a.m., it was completely dark. I mean, you could see the behind it like coming through, but it was so cool. Anybody, I do recommend 100% if you can watch it, if you're able to.
Yeah, and the other thing too about even the full moons, like there doesn't have to be some elaborate esbat and getting everything, doing these big things. Literally, we went out and just tried to take some pictures and laid on a blanket and had some snacks on the grass and burned some incense. That's what we did. On most of ours are like that. Now this time I will be in, like I said, another state. So I think
is it solar eclipse?
Happens quite a bit. Lunar. I'm pretty. Oh, is it solar?
I don't know.
We'll have to look
Beaver
that up.
Moon. It's a beaver moon.
So all I know is we're going to be looking at the moon, and the sun is blocking the moon. If that's correct, but I have to look. We may have that backwards. We'll look it up in a second. So new moon is coming November 23rd in Scorpio. So that will be the next one. And then, so us being in different states on this one, I'm going to try to do something similar, and I'm getting better about not caring what other people think because I feel silly But I think I may just go outside and sit on a little a pillow or something in the grass and look up at the sky when the moon is ready to show its face for Tuesday night. I'm excited.
She's so freaking bright and clear. Like last night looking up there, it's so bright, so clear.
Mom's getting heavy.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice moon. A total eclipse of a moon.
I'm looking it up right now just for the record, so if you want to continue talking, you can. Solar eclipse on October 25th. Yep. November 8th, lunar eclipse.
Chandra. Oh, that's somebody's name. So why is it called a beaver moon?
Yeah, tell us.
Because it's around the time to set traps before swamps froze to ensure supply of furs for the winter. Beavers also start to hibernate around this time. They stock their food for winter and take shelter. That is a beaver full moon.
The eclipse will be completely visible over the Pacific and most of North America.
Ooh, we can see it, maybe, hopefully.
You'll see on the rising moon over Australia, Asia, and the far northeast of Europe. And the setting moon over South America and the eastern North America. Oh, eastern North America, that's good. Okay. So hopefully we will be able to see it. Yeah. It looks like, I mean, of course, unless it's cloudy. I was about to say snowy. All right.
All right.
We are going to move into Tarot, I think. It's all of our topics.
We've not got a pen, do we? Should I grab one? I'll grab
we
one.
need a pen.
We need a pen in case people want. Now I'm going to use the Oracle deck you got me, Earth, Moon, and Shadow. Because I feel called to use it.
Where's she at? I hear her behind me.
Behind you.
I hear VG grunting. You're going to have to hold Ma.
Oh, my potato. What's this? A little packaging?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Have you guys seen, speaking of Earth-based, have you seen the, it's getting a lot more common now to have the starch packaging peanuts. So give me that little peanut.
Oh, you're going to eat it?
Nope. I can. But it could be dirty. So these little peanuts that you get, as packaging, as soon as water hits them, they melt. So it's very cool. Unless it gets hit with water while your product is still in it, and it makes it all gooey and yucky.
Yeah.
But so much better for the earth than the styrofoam crap. So, yeah. I don't know if there's anything special for the Beaver Moon or not. Are you going to stand for a while?
Yeah.
Because if so, my boutique can have a chair.
You can't eat the trash, baby.
Oh, my arm. You're getting way, way too comfortable with that during our service, honey.
I'm the queen.
She wants me to hold her, and it hurts my arm.
No, don't try to jump down, Mamacita.
But yeah, no pen.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to do. Let me go get a pen.
Yeah, please
Are you going to watch her? Will I go grab a pen?
I will, yeah. I'm going to use one of these new,
Witches?
decks.
Oh.
Sit down, Ma. There you, look at that. Yeah, you.
Are you a good
won't
bitch
hold
or a
me.
bad bitch?
She's mad at me because I won't hold her.
I'm going to get a pen.
My arm hurts, honey. I'm sorry. She's giving me all kinds of dirty looks.
Oh, industry.
Whatever will become of me. Excuse me. All right. So, who wants a reading? There we go. Finally cleared my throat.
Here, sweetie sweets. Let's get you back a little bit over there. That's fine.
We will do 2 cards. I will be using the Tarot of the Divine.
And I shall be using The Earth, Moon, and Shadow Oracle by Serafina Yeshi Mesa.
Dragon Dancer.
With artwork by Kat L. Emsel. Alright, Dragon, let's get you a couple of cards.
Excuse me. Good grief.
I'm going to put Jap, Joyanne Purcell.
Really?
And then our reading partner.
Little tree sap. And then we're going to, after read, we are going to do after show. So there will be some more discussion.
I want to be a dragon dancer.
About our books, because we've made a little bit of more progress since our last discussion. At least we have.
And I love, like, I like when you tell me, are you reading today? And I can say I've already read, or what I'm doing. It's really good. It feels so good to do focused, even if it's 30 minutes, just focused reading every day.
Yeah, it's one of the things I am excited about traveling again, because then I get reading time.
I feel like reading kind of feeds your brain.
It
I mean,
does.
for me, it's the way I meditate is through reading. So
these Tarot of the Divines are just slightly too large for my hands.
it always feels good to do it, in my opinion.
Did you get paranormal?
No, I did not. Let me put her down. The Paranormal Witch. What does Dragon Dancer need to hear today?
Yeah. I need to do one.
Yeah,
I
we
might
should.
put out a Tarot Monday or something when I get
Monday?
in. Montero Day, I guess.
Montero Day.
Doesn't have the same ring, does it?
What does
Any question, Dragon Dancer? We will assume general, like just whatever the cards say, unless you have a specific question.
Oh, Queensy.
You could.
You can, you must, and you shall. I need to make a shirt that says that. We can, we must, we shall. Manifest.
Looming Doom.
Oh, I hear my mister going off. Get you some mist. Alphaba. Alphabas are 6-month-old veiled chameleon who we've had a couple weeks, or a week actually, and she is adjusting to her new home. She's quite sassy. I love her. She's really cool.
Just like you.
Yeah.
All right. Dragon Dancer would like a general.
What does Dragon need to hear? Sorry, I'm shuffling up quite a bit because these are new cards. So
Tarot of the Divine for Dragon Dancer.
custom Rook shirt. I shall send you one.
Just a custom Rook shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a couple for. I still need to do F and squares.
What is it?
F and squares.
For
Jen.
Jen, yeah.
The first card is the 5 of Coins.
Ooh.
If you want to place that down there, I would appreciate
I will place it for
you.
you.
Now, first of all,
shirt.
I'm sorry.
Oh, nothing. I was
Okay.
gonna ask Ziggy which shirt she wants to say on there.
So the one thing I want to point out about this group, or these cards, is basically folk stories. So each one represents a little folk story. So I am going to look it up to tell you which folk story it represents. And this one is The Little Match Girl, which is a Denmark and or Danish fairy tale. The thing that I fives are always fun. Not really. 5 of Coins really related to pentacles, earth, money, possessions, tangibility. 5 of Coins, though, is not normally a good omen. It usually means that there's going to be a fight over money. 5 of Coins is there's either not going to be enough, or you're going to be pushed out and not in a place where you can actually do what it is you need to do because the money is not there, and you're going to argue with somebody crazily over it, very much over it. So kind of keep your eye out for that. There's definitely an issue with money. and it's not going to be good. It's going to be a lot harder than it even should be. It's going to take a lot more work. And at this point, with just one card, it's a hardship card. It really is. It really, like you see in the book, it says it's representative of being left out in the cold. A lot of times when I read this, the first thing I see is the dichotomy of looking at the church window and the church not accepting you in. So it's the one place that you trusted that you should have and should be able to go, and they put you out. You can't go in for whatever the reason is. But when it comes to the coins itself, this is almost always about financial hardship or a financial fight. Something related to money that's going to be very difficult, and it's not going to get better first. It's going to be harder first.
All right, I had to open the book to look because I couldn't read the second word, and it's spirit and matter. I'll put mine down, then I'll put them both back up. All right, so this is a beautiful card. I don't know if it's picking it up on there, but you've got a crow. She's kind of flying out in the universe. It shows what I would represent Earth, the world tree, different planets, different stars, celestial. And what it says to me is keep your life with spirit and matter, with a foot in the spiritual realm and put those things, and one in the worldly realm to balance. It reminds me that we can't all live in the magical. We also have to exist in the mundane to balance our mind, energy, body, etc. If that makes sense.
I mean, the mind is magical after all.
The mind is magical, and then there you've got both of them together.
There's definitely a lot of mundane cleanup that we need to do right now with some magical purpose, right? In other words, the things that are happening that we need to work through in the mundane world can be helped with our magical practices, but they are still mundane things, and we've got to get them squared away to go next.
What is joy? Joy, joy, joy.
And pain, sunshine, and rain.
Joy, joy, joy.
All right.
What say you, Earth, Moon, and Shadow Oracle, for joy? Have you pulled a card for joy?
I'm shuffling, I promise. And they're shuffled. 4 of coins.
4 of coins.
So.
Right.
Dropped a card. So now the 4 of coins, I can already tell you, is a much, unfortunately, more positive card than the 5 of coins. Because the 4 of coins is more of a representation of the things that are going to be fulfilled. Although, it can also represent hoarding. The 4s are about structure, right? So I always talk about the 4 corners holding up the 4 walls, the 4 elements, the 4 of anything. 4 sides are stronger when they're 4 connected sides and all of those things. So it really has that stability note to it. So your 4 of swords is a period of financial stability when otherwise there probably wasn't or haven't been leading up to this point. One thing you want to look out for is making sure that things are put in their place, because if they're in their place, then it'll be a lot easier to do all the other things you want to do. Now, the tail for this one is the Condor's wife. Now, mind you, I don't have any detail, like super details on these folk tales, but the book says the 4 of coins represents greed and unwillingness to open up or share, or a financial stability and materialism that is setting you up for future progress. The Condor covets his wife, who does not like his lifestyle living with him. He recognizes her unhappiness, but is unwilling to change or set her free. So it's a pay attention card to say, look, you know, there's some financial stability, things are good, but you got to make sure that what you're doing is what you want to do, and that it is feeding your soul, and that it is something that you don't need to potentially let go.
So if you saw what I was doing, I was walking around and touching the card deck to all of the woolies that I have in front of me. Patrick and his friend, Larry, Curly, and Mo, and then the bat to have their energy on them. And let me see if I can read this one. Thunder and Lightning. I think it's a very cool card. It's got a man looking up and surrounded by the big blue sky, and he's got lightning going from his throat down to his chest. And for me, what I get with him as he's, he's coming up with some things that might be a little difficult this week or in recent times. And he's looking up for guidance, kind of like what we talked about earlier, that although we can't see the sky, the stars are still there.
My last meditation was staring at the sky. There's a lot of looking sky work apparently we need to do.
But it's the image just tells me it's going from what he's saying down to his heart, and to be sure to pay attention to that inner that intuition. When you have a difficult situation, it might be a matter of what someone said, and it might cause you some emotional pause, but to always look up and look within for guidance when you're coming into conflict or something painful. And the stars are still there, and your intuition is still there to guide you through those times. Even if it's upsetting. Don't know if that makes sense, but that's just what I get. Now I'll put your two cards back so she can see them together. Okay.
We'll have to look up that condor tail too. That's the condor's wife.
Oh, I thought I smelled some sage.
You do. Very lightly.
Yummy, yummy, yummy. And then we're on to
Little Tree Sap.
Our reading accountability buddy. And inspiration to read more and again. I like that. So, because of that,
Question of general.
I'm going to touch my card deck to Uncle Sutnack, which is a favorite book, which she has inspired me to start doing more of. The Little Tree Sap's energy.
Mm-hmm. You can touch it every book. You use every book.
Yeah.
Now I associate Little Tree Sap with books forever.
I do too. I connect this deck to Little Tree Sap through. Why don't I just do this? Through all the books that we have, that we see, and that we are not seeing. But I like the wisdom of Uncle Sutnack.
I'm pulling all kinds of hardcore cards today.
All right. What say you for Little Tree Sap?
Maybe I'm off. Because Little Tree Sap, you got the Ten of Swords. Ten of Swords. And I pulled the Ten of Swords a lot lately. It just keeps coming up.
Well, it's
where the Tower is a complete and utter, a major arcana breakdown of, a system and a full fundamental change. The Ten of Swords is a failure. It's you didn't make it. You tried to get to the end, but it's not going to happen. So it is a tale of whatever that thing is that you're just working so hard on, but you feel like it's just you're failing, you're not doing well. It might be time to stop it, take a look at it, figure it out, and then restart it. It's not a give up. It's not a say, I don't want to do this anymore, or I'm throwing in the towel. It's a don't be stupid card. I mean, I don't know how else to say it nicely. It's don't, what do they say it? Repeating the same thing over and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. So something, and it's not a huge thing because I don't know, didn't get anything that's like totally beaming down or anything major. But there's something that you are working at really hard that means a lot to you, and it is just not working out no matter how hard you try. And you're not somebody that's going to really want to say, all right, let me put that aside for a minute because it's not going to make it to fruition right now. And then I will come back to it at a later time. Now, the card itself, let's see. So this card is the story of Sedna, which is from Canada Inuit mythology. Sedna's father pushes her from his kayak and chops off her fingers when she tries to cling to his boats. She sinks to the bottom of the ocean and becomes consumed with wrath, eternally seeking revenge. I mean, that's pretty rough. I don't know how I feel about that. That's great. difficult. But it talks about severing ties. That's one of the meanings they have in here. But they also have bitterness, betrayal, rock bottom. I can see all of those things, but they're not. It's not rock bottom as in life. It's rock bottom of a thing. It's not this. You know what I mean? It's one piece. So again, severing ties or realizing that maybe this thing that I've been working so hard on, it needs a break from me.
And this is not updating. So it shows, my question is that, I guess it was just dumb. If there's anything I should know about for my ritual plan on the night of the eclipse.
Oh.
So this,
you'll have to read yours that way.
So this could go with that. So I pulled the hatchling. So what it's telling me is that you're going to have an interest or something maybe that would be a little different perhaps than what you would normally do. Take that seed of curiosity and go with it. Learn a little about it if you can, but go with your curiosity for your ritual. If there's something that you thought, oh God, should I include this? And maybe it's a little bit different. Do it. Do it and nurture that curiosity or interest or the inner child part of you for your ritual.
Mm-hmm.
It just shows me, if you can see the picture, she's little hatchlings up in a tree, kind of high up, not too high. So it's not, I don't feel like going to be anything way off what you would do. But if you've got a curiosity about an element of a ritual or a practice or something just to throw in and do it.
Yeah. Welcome in, Malice.
Hey!
How's it going? And so, because I didn't see the question, little tree sap, the message I think for the card still stands. If you just want to apply it in the perspective of your ritual, part of the ritual may need to include cutting ties of things that no longer serve you, or perhaps there's something you really want to do during this eclipse or this ritual, and maybe you're making it a little bit too engaged or too much, and maybe it's telling you to back off a little bit, whatever the case may be. So, sorry I didn't see your question beforehand. My thing wasn't updating.
All right, that's yours. Paranormal Witch. What you want to know, Paranormal?
P-dubs.
What would you like, my darling? My sister witch.
P-dubs. Sister witch. Is that like a switch?
And I connect to Paranormal Witch to pull a card because we have both been in the same places. For sure.
All three of us.
Physically. Well, yes, you too. All three of us.
Any question, Paranormal? I promise I will scroll down to check it first.
Hey.
I promise.
Try a little something. Miss Paranormal. Oh, cool. All right, Paranormal. I connect to you in space and time and those places where we have physically been. What do you need to know today? Here she goes. I just covered. Ooh, let's see. Okay. Congratulations on the interview. That's awesome for Monday. Here we go.
So your first card, Paranormal, is the Six of Cups. Now this is a good thing. It does not speak directly to your job though, or your job interview. But what it does speak to is that you're going to have a very positive interaction in the near future. So the Six of Cups is the feeling generally of two people that are comfortable with each other and they have really good connections. And since or connection, meaning maybe even just meeting. So this would say to me is in the job interview, I think you're going to have a good connection, or I feel like you're going to have a good connection with the person you're interviewing with. Now, that could be very positive and say, hey, maybe yes, you will get hired. So I would say if I had to pick, yes, there's a good chance that you're on the positive side of that. But before all things, it's not going to be stressful. It is going to be an easy conversation with the person. So whoever's interviewing you, when you meet with them, you're going to get along really well. You guys are going to communicate very well, so it's going to be really nice. The Six of Cups really does come up when there's some type of social interaction it's almost like buying flowers for your friend, right? That's kind of how I look at the Six of Cups, and there's that really good, neat connection with each other. So I love that.
All right.
Now I do want to read real quick. The book, because again, this is from the folklore, right? I want you to know which folk tale this is in that particular card. It's kind of hard to see. It's the Snow Queen. This is a Danish fairy tale, and it has a nostalgia associated with it. Kai and Gerda are the two friends here. They're best friends as children, but when Kai is struck with depression, he leaves with the Snow Queen. Through many adventure, Gerda does save him, but by then his innocence is gone. This can bring sharing, simple joys, joy of old friends. I like that. I think that's a really good... Ooh, I accidentally pulled a weird one. But yes. So I would say based on that card, you have a good chance of being hired, but even more so it's talking about how good your social interaction is going to be with the hired person.
Okay, your interview may go well. However, I pulled the scavenger. So what the scavenger is saying to me is be wary, don't be too desperate. You don't have slim pickings. Pay attention to your intuition and what you pick up from the interview. Okay? Don't, if something doesn't feel right about the opportunity, consider it. Don't just say yes or accept right away. Pay attention to the energy and what you're feeling. Don't be desperate because you don't need to be. The right job is there. The right opportunity, okay? So just be aware of it. Be wary of that. The interview will probably go well. But don't become desperate if something doesn't feel right about it. I know you said it's a good job. Just pay attention to what you're picking up during the interview.
Yeah. And like the Six of Cups is definitely going to be, you're going to feel good about it. It's not going to, you're not going to leave being upset or frustrated, which lends to the higher chance of getting a job, you know.
I will tell you from personal experience how that goes. If there's anything that seems too good to be true, just pause and think about it, okay? Be aware of it. All right, and now we're going for Miss Ziggy.
All right, Ziggy, any question or general?
Ooh, and we're almost to my favorite part of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Our shout outs. That is truly my favorite part of the whole thing. There's 7 million things.
All right.
Okay.
The cards will deliver.
All right. What say you for Ziggy, Earth, Moon, and Shadow, Oracle, and Tarot of the Divine? Divine. Wow. Just wow.
All right. All right, Ziggy. Tarot of the Divine has brought you the Four of Cups. So the Four of Cups, let's go. This time I want to go to the story first. A lot of Danish stories in here. So this is the story of the Nightingale in the Four of Cups. It represents romanticizing bad choices while ignoring good alternatives right before you. Now remember, this is the fairy tale. That's what the fairy tale represents in this card. It is coveting what is superficially better, but neglecting a plain nightingale who can actually sing away death. So upright, the Four of Cups can sometimes represent either daydreaming, lethargy, a need for revaluation, or a lack of awareness. Now, generally speaking, when I read a Four of Cups, my interpretation is that whatever is being worked on in the cups is something that's going to be a structured process, a very specific reaction to something emotional. But what I'm getting from this card, judging by what I just read and what's in there and what I'm kind of feeling, it probably is all of those things that you currently have up in the air, right? So if you have so many things going on, it's going to be very difficult to have or pick one. So maybe you need to reevaluate what's up in the air. Maybe let's let's say the million things up in the air, they're all balloons, and each one of them is important. You're going to have to pick some and pop them because you can't eat everything that's on your tray. You have to let go and cut ties with some of those things. Now, the Four of Cups is an emotional card, and it really represents that emotional attachment and that emotional feeling that you have. So my guess would be is if you do that, maybe the feeling of overwhelmingness will go away. One thing I love about fours across, from a symbology perspective, fours always bring in an energy that is sound and structural. So if you follow it, it will bring you a more positive reaction. So again, looking at and maybe reevaluating some of those things and saying, do they really need to be up in the air or can they already be laid to rest? And being a little bit more aware of what's around you. I would also say that you may want to be a little wary of, what's the word? Pessimism, I guess, of being really like pessimistic about something, because that may prevent you from choosing something that will actually have a very positive impact. So an assumption that something is going to be bad, and when it's one of those million things, is just that, an assumption. So evaluate and make sure it's something that needs to be cut. And it also reminds you for some reason of how do you eat an elephant. One bite at a time.
And I drew Predator and Prey. So this is telling me the things this week, if you feel like you're having to work extra hard for them, feel like you're constantly focused on them, let those fall away this week. Accept in and focus on things that are there, maybe flow naturally or making progress. But anything you feel like you're being aggressive with, kind of let that go to the back this week and pursue or spend your energy on things that are just there, just flowing, just going. Don't require a lot of work.
Much so. And bye, Joy. Thanks for always last night and for stopping in today. We'll go just a few more. We have a few minutes. Do anybody else would like a read, just 2-card general read before we move on to after show?
And my favorite part.
Oh, and your favorite part. We'll do that too. I am so excited that this is our stream has been the strongest it has been ever. Consistent metrics. It's running at its full FPS. Everything is doing the way it's supposed to for freaking once. With all the difficulties we've had, especially since the hurricane, so that's exciting.
Yeah,
that's going well. All right, Malice, we can get you a read in. Oh, got this card here.
I got your card. All right.
Let me shuffle up a bit. I gotta figure out if there's even a way to do a queue in YouTube, like a bot queue or something like that.
All right.
And then I've got a, what do you call it? A nap built in today's schedule because my head is starting to hurt more.
My petite took my seat. You took my seat. You took my
you
seat.
Stood up, motherfucker.
You took my seat, my petite.
All right, General.
What says Mr. Yee? All right.
Yeah.
Cool deal.
As we're doing better with time, starting at 10:30 on the dot properly.
It's going better.
Through 12:30. I'm hoping we'll have more time to do a little bit longer reads because this is the favorite part for me.
That's your favorite part.
This is my favorite part. I'm thinking about going back to Twitch and doing tarot streams there again, but I've had some nasty attitudes on there sometimes. It's not my favorite place to go. But Malice, let's see.
This week, what do we say?
10 of Wands. That is one hell of a 10 of Wands.
Oh, that's a really cool card.
It is a very cool card. Go figure. So this is a tarot of the divine. So this is based on folklore. So in this instance, I do read the book because the story, the fairy tale, gives you some insight. What was it? 10 of Wands, I said, right?
Yes.
All right.
Wands.
So the 10 of Wands, what you see on the screen, if you can see it, that card is the Timbo tree. And it is a Guarani legend from Paraguay. It represents taking too much and refusing taking on too much and refusing to accept help. In the story of the Timbo tree, Sagwad's daughter went missing, and then he went to search for her alone in vain. A Timbo tree grew from his ear when he died, bearing fruits he labored for but was unable to enjoy. So he spent all of his time trying to find her, and he refused to ask for other people to help him find her, which he may have actually found her. Then he died, which left him, not able to enjoy the fact that she probably was found if he would have asked for help. So that's the moral of that story, is ask for help, which, interestingly, even in a traditional read, the Ten of Wands is the coming to the culmination towards the end of an actual professional choice that you've made or a career choice. And it represents that full embodiment and thinking, okay, I'm getting there, I'm at the end. But it also tells you to stop, wait, don't take the next step until you've actually had the opportunity to look and see what's happening in front of you, because you may need to change it a little bit. So yeah, accept help when help is offered.
I like this card I pulled, and I'm pulling from the Earth, Moon, and Shadow Oracle, and it's Surrender Fire. So this guy or this person is sitting there, and the fire is coming out of his hand. So if there's something creative that you're doing this week, whether it's a long-term something or something new, just be calm with your ideas, and whatever you're thinking is the right step, right process, right design, whatever it is, be calm and assured and knowing that that's the right thing coming from you out into the world. That's what I get from that. Surrender of fire. So go with it. Whatever you're working on creatively this week that's inside you and you want to bring out, it's the right thing and it will be a success. It doesn't matter what you might think others, how they will receive it, or if it'll be successful. What's in you this week will be the right choice, and it will be what needs to come out. So don't second guess it. That's what I get.
I can understand that from a Spanish perspective, Malice, but I have never heard, nor in the dictionary have I seen. Oh, that's your card. That's Paraguay spelled or pronounced that way. Ooh, so I'm gonna pronounce it the way it's pronounced here. So we have one more little piece to do. I'm looking in chat. I don't see anybody else that's in.
All right.
We are going to do Rook's favorite part.
This is my favorite part.
And then we will go to after book talk.
This is our shout outs. All right. Can you throw it up there for me?
Book after talk, or whatever the hell that means.
Throw it up there for me.
Hold on. I gotta get it up.
For the setting.
Don't know.
Rook's favorite part. This is my favorite part.
No, that's not what I want. Okay. Sorry. I've got to get it up on both screens so that they fits on the screen. Yeah, and I really wish we could do more cards, Malice. Is it again, like, this is the most fun part to me, because I really want to. I like doing the tarot. It's just there's nothing more fun for me.
So can you all see my favorite thing? All right, so we just want to. I'm not going to sit on the dog. I just want to shout out to all the people that we know and are aware of. So please check out all of these awesome creators, witches, and wonderfuls. Addie Estate on Twitch and Instagram, Mr. Malice on YouTube, and Addie Estate on Facebook and Twitter, who does the Friday night podcast, Malice Experience, with Mystic Salon right here. From the Cauldron Witch on Instagram, and From the Cauldron Witch Tarot on Instagram. Stephanie, she usually does tarot readings that are freaking amazing on Sundays. I think about 2 o'clock California time, so wind it back to fit your
2
time.
o'clock California time would be 6 o'clock here.
So she's before us. So
if it's 2 o'clock here, it's probably 11 o'clock her time.
11 a.m. California time. Be on the lookout. Go on and so you can see her notifications on Instagram, From the Cauldron Witch Tarot. Paranormal Witch on YouTube, and Lady Rose 819 on Instagram. She puts out an amazing paranormal blog, usually every week. I can't talk today. Mm-hmm. So if you're on Instagram, go ahead and follow like Lady Rose 819. Unexplained Possibilities on YouTube. Unexplained Possibilities on Instagram. You all know, I don't think there's anybody in here that doesn't know Melvin, and he's got amazing guests and covers any kind of freaking topic you would want to learn about. Please check him out. Ziggy Dreadful on Twitch. Check out Ziggy. Are you going to be streaming any games coming up? Go on Twitch and follow Ziggy Dreadful so you can watch her game streams. The same with Mavethel on Twitch. And I think, I don't want to speak for him, but he might be doing some other things soon. So we'll ask him to keep us updated on that for YouTube. And we are Two Pondering Pagans on YouTube and Facebook. Two Pondering Pagans on Twitter. I'm Rook Tempest on YouTube. I don't have any videos. I'm working on that and we'll let you all know. And Rook_Tempest on Instagram. I do post different things on there. Mystic Salann on Twitch and Salann Tawin on YouTube. Look at the screen for the spelling. And thank you so much for joining us today and spending some time. I hope you all have a great Sunday. We're going to head over to the Discord for some after podcast chat on the books we've been reading. You got anything else before we thank these wonderful folks?
You already thanked them all.
Well, thank you.
Thank you all, you wonderful folks. We're going to go switch over now to a Discord and get in a more comfortable spot on the couch because I still don't feel good from yesterday. So please feel free to join. We will have the discussion. All are welcome, but we will be talking about our November book challenge and reading challenge. I say our, it's actually not even ours, but we're participating. Yes. So we will see you over there in just a few moments if you want to hang out for a little bit longer. Thanks again for stopping in, and we appreciate you all. Love you. Deuces, y'all.
Bye.